the outcast princess in the distant spiral of the Tri-Nova galaxy. There lived a giantess named Leora, born of the Titanian species, towering twice the height of most beings and strong enough to bend steel with her bare hands. But among her own kind, she was mocked for being too large even for a Titanian woman. Her body considered excessive, her presence overwhelming. They whispered that no warrior would ever choose her, that no king would dare offer his crown, that love was something she would never feel. Leora hid her pain behind silence, walking through the crystal halls of the Titanian capital with her head low, her heart heavier than any weapon she had ever lifted. The stars outside shimmered, mocking her loneliness, and the reflection on the window showed a face both fierce and fragile. Her people valued perfection, balance, symmetry, but she was a reminder of imperfection, of raw strength untamed. They told her she was too much, too big, too loud, and in time she began to believe them. Far away, across the dark border of the Empire, the human fleet patrolled the neutral expanse. Among them was Captain Arlen Grey, a soldier known for his compassion in a universe that had forgotten kindness. He had fought wars, saved colonies, and lost more friends than he could count. Yet something in him still searched for meaning. When his ship, the Elysium Voyager, received a distress beacon from Titanian space, Arlen didn't hesitate. "Set course for the coordinates," he ordered. "No one gets left behind, no matter the species." The beacon led them to a shattered moon where Titanian refugees hid after a rebel strike. The atmosphere was unstable, and radiation storms crackled across the horizon like angry gods. Arlen led his team through the storm, their exosuits glowing blue beneath the thunderous sky. Among the ruins stood Leora, holding a collapsed bridge with her bare arms to keep her people from falling into the molten chasm below. Her strength defied belief, but even as she saved lives, her eyes carried sorrow. "Leave me," she shouted. "The bridge will fall. Save the children." Arlen didn't listen. He ran forward, magnetic boots gripping the trembling surface, and reached out to her. "Not without you," he said firmly. "Hold on." The storm roared, the bridge cracked, and Leora's hand slipped for the first time in her life. For a brief moment, she thought she saw pity in his eyes, but it wasn't pity. It was respect. With the combined power of human technology and Titanian strength, they managed to pull everyone to safety. When the last survivor was aboard the Elysium Voyager, Leora collapsed, exhausted and trembling. Her massive frame looked broken, her armor dented, her spirit crushed. Arlen knelt beside her, his voice calm. "You did it. You saved them." She turned away, her voice bitter. "They will remember the children, not me, the monster who held the bridge." Arlen frowned. Realizing she wasn't speaking of physical pain but of years of rejection, he stood, dusted off the ash, and extended his gloved hand toward her. "To me, you're no monster," he said quietly. "You're the reason they're alive." Leora hesitated, staring at his small hand against her enormous one. No one had ever offered her kindness without fear or disgust. Slowly, she lifted her trembling fingers and placed them against his. Her hand could crush his, yet his touch was steady, fearless, human. In that moment, the storm seemed to quiet, the lightning fading into soft rain across the shattered moon. For the first time, she felt something she thought she never would: acceptance. The crew watched in silence as the towering Titanian and the human captain stood side by side beneath the broken sky. The war around them no longer mattered because something greater had begun, a fragile connection that would shake two empires. And as Arlen smiled up at her, he said softly, "Maybe love doesn't measure size, Leora, it measures heart." She didn't answer, but her eyes glowed softly, brighter than the stars beyond the storm, the human who defied the Empire. The Elysium Voyager drifted silently through the edge of Titanian space, its engines humming like a distant heartbeat. Leora sat alone in the cargo bay, the place where her size did not make her feel trapped, her golden eyes staring at the stars. She still couldn't understand why the human captain had helped her, why his eyes held no fear, only calm among her people. Strength meant loneliness, but this human seemed to see something different. When he entered the bay, she lowered her gaze. Embarrassed by the damage on her armor and the scars that ran down her arms, Arlen stepped closer, his tone light. "You know, we usually charge for rescue missions," he said with a faint smile. She tilted her head, confused, until she realized he was joking, and for the first time, her lips curved in something close to a smile. "I have no currency," she replied softly, her voice deep and melodic. "Only gratitude." That's more than enough, Arlen said, leaning against the railing. You did more than anyone today, Leora. Even my crew is talking about you. Her eyes flickered. They talk because I frightened them. He shook his head. They talk because you lifted a bridge with your bare hands. There was silence for a moment, filled only by the low hum of the ship's core. Tell me, Arlen asked, why did your people leave you behind on that moon? Her voice trembled as she answered. They didn't want to be seen beside me when the rebels attacked. They said a giant would attract fire. They were right, I suppose. Arlen clenched his jaw, anger flickering beneath his calm. You deserved better than that. Leora turned to him, her expression unreadable. Among my kind, I am too much, too large, too visible. And among mine, he said softly. We call that unforgettable. She blinked slowly, the words echoing deeper than any compliment she had ever heard. But the peace didn't last long. The Elysium Voyager's alarm rang, red lights flashing across the corridor. Arlen's communicator buzzed. Captain, incoming ships, Titanian command fleet. They've locked onto our position. Leora's expression darkened. They will not let me go. I broke their laws by calling for aid from another species. Arlen frowned. They can't just take you by force, not while you're under my protection. Her gaze fell. You would fight your own allies for me? Not allies, he corrected. Bullies wearing uniforms. The Titanian fleet appeared like massive black knives slicing through the void, their plasma cannons glowing crimson. A voice thundered through the comm. Human vessel! Release the fugitive Titanian female immediately or be destroyed. Arlen's crew turned to him. Uncertain, Captain, what's the call? He didn't hesitate. Tell them no. His first officer stared. Sir, that's a Titanian battle group. We'll be crushed. Arlen's voice was calm, almost serene. Then we'll go down doing what's right. Leora stood, her shadow casting over the command deck. You would risk your ship, your people for me? He looked up at her, unshaken. You risked your life for strangers under fire. I'm just returning the favor. Something broke inside her walls. The kind of silence that comes after years of rejection, suddenly filled with the sound of someone believing in you. She stepped forward, her voice heavy but sure. Then I will fight beside you. Her massive hands moved across the control panels, her knowledge of Titanian tech surprising even the human engineers. Captain, she said, I can override their targeting systems. But you must trust me. Arlen met her gaze. I already do. Within seconds, Leora sent a coded pulse across the fleet, confusing their sensors and blinding their main radars. The Elysium Voyager turned sharply, engines flaring as they dove into the asteroid belt. Meteors slicing past the hull like molten spears. The Titanian ships fired blindly, missing again and again inside the cockpit. Arlen grinned. Nice work. Commander Leora. She blinked in surprise. Commander? Promotion, he said, comes with saving a ship from certain death. Her laughter, deep and warm, filled the deck, a sound the crew would never forget. When the danger finally passed, they drifted into quiet space once more. Arlen turned toward her and said softly, You're safe now. But Leora shook her head. No, Captain, I am hunted now, and so are you. He smiled faintly. Then I guess we're in this together. She looked at him, something unspoken shining in her eyes. Together, she whispered. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, and somewhere between them, a bond had formed strong enough to defy two empires. The Queen's ultimatum, the Elysium Voyager, drifted beyond the nebula's veil, hidden among clouds of cosmic dust glowing like blue fire. Inside, the crew worked quietly, repairing the hull after the narrow escape. Captain Arlen stood at the bridge window, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Behind him, Leora watched, her towering form framed by the dim light, her armor still scorched but her spirit unbroken. You could have left me, she said softly. Her deep voice echoing in the silence. Arlen turned slightly, his tone steady. I don't abandon people who need help, not even across species. She tilted her head. Your own command will see this as treason. He shrugged. Then they can court-martial me after we save the galaxy. For a moment, she almost smiled again, but her eyes carried a storm of fear and gratitude mixed together. A signal suddenly blinked on the console, the emblem of the Titanian Empire flashing like a blade. The crew went silent. Arlen gave a nod, and the image of a colossal throne appeared before them. Seated upon it was Queen Seraphis, Leora's mother, radiant and terrifying. her eyes burning with golden fire. "Captain Arlen Gray," the Queen's voice thundered through the speakers. "You have something that belongs to me." Arlen's jaw tightened. "With respect, Your Majesty, she's not a thing to own. She's a person." The Queen's lips curled into a cold smile. "You speak as though your fragile heart knows what she is. That Titanian was born cursed, too large to fit her own people, too stubborn to obey her bloodline." Leora stepped forward, voice trembling. "Mother, I saved lives." "Oh, silence," the Queen roared. "You shamed our name when you begged for help from lesser beings." The crew flinched, but Arlen didn't move. "Lesser beings?" he repeated slowly. "My people have fought to keep peace while your fleets burn worlds." The Queen's tone sharpened like a dagger. "You speak of peace while hiding my daughter." "I will burn your ship to cinders if you do not return her." Arlen met her gaze through the holographic projection, unwavering. "Then you'll have to go through me." Leora looked between them, panic in her voice. "Captain, no, she will destroy us all." But Arlen only said, "Let her try." The Queen's image flickered, rage filling her voice. "So be it, human. Your courage will be your tomb." And the transmission cut. The ship shuddered, alarms blaring. "Multiple Titanian dreadnoughts incoming," cried the helm officer. "Prepare evasive maneuvers," Arlen commanded. "All power to shields." Leora turned toward him, her voice urgent. "There's another way, Captain." "The Queen's palace has a secret channel through the nebula path. If we reach it, we can vanish from their scanners." He nodded. "Show me." Together they raced to the navigation deck, her massive hands guiding the holomap, tracing paths humans had never seen. The Queen's fleet unleashed beams of plasma, slicing through the nebula, explosions lighting up the void like dying stars. The Elysium Voyager dived through the chaos, engines straining, hull screaming under the stress. Leora's hands danced over the controls. "Almost there," she whispered. "Almost." Then a blast struck the rear engine. The ship lurched violently. Sparks filled the deck, crew thrown to the ground. Arlen struggled to his feet. "Status?" "Main thrusters offline, shields failing," shouted the engineer. Leora slammed her fist onto the panel. "I'll hold them back." "You must escape," Arlen turned sharply. "You're not leaving this ship." Her golden eyes burned with sorrow. "You don't understand. They will never stop hunting us unless I face her." Arlen stepped closer, his voice low but fierce. "You think I'd let you walk into death alone? Not happening." She looked at him for a long time, and in her eyes he saw both strength and pain, the kind of pain that only comes from being unloved for too long. "Then what will you do, human captain?" she asked softly. "Defy a queen? Defy an empire?" He smiled faintly. "If that's what it takes to protect you." Her breath caught something fragile flickering in her heart. "Why?" He looked up at her without hesitation. "Because you're worth it." For the first time, Leora felt the weight of all her years melt away. The mockery, the rejection, the isolation this human, small, mortal, fragile had given her what her empire never could. Dignity. Before she could reply, a sudden quiet filled the bridge, the scanners flashing green. "They've stopped firing," whispered the officer. "Transmission incoming again," the Queen's voice returned, colder than before. "So the human refuses, then hear this. Daughter of mine, if you do not return, your name will be erased from the Titanian record. Your people will deny your existence. You will be nothing." Leora closed her eyes, her voice calm. "Then so be it." The Queen's expression froze. Shocked by her defiance, Arlen stepped forward. "She already has a name, Your Majesty, and she's already something. She's Leora Gray." The Queen's image flickered. But before she could respond, the channel cut abruptly. Leora stared at him stunned. "Gray?" she whispered. "You would give me your name?" He smiled, tired but sincere. "Names mean belonging, don't they?" For a moment, the war outside seemed distant, and even the stars looked gentler. She lowered her head, whispering words she had never dared say aloud. "Then I am yours, Captain." And as the ship drifted deeper into the nebula's glow, a new legend was being born. A story not of power or conquest, but of a human who reached beyond fear and found love among the stars. Exile of two worlds, the Elysium Voyager drifted far beyond mapped space, hidden within the shadow of a dying star. Its hull bore the scars of battles fought for honor and love, and its crew worked in silence, bound together by what they had witnessed. Leora sat in the observation chamber, her gaze fixed on the glowing red sun that was collapsing into itself. To her, it looked like her past, something beautiful once. Now burning away into darkness, Captain Arlen entered quietly, his footsteps soft against the steel floor. "Still awake?" he asked, voice gentle but weary. She nodded without turning. "Sleep does not come easily to exiles." He came closer, folding his arms. "We're both exiles now." She looked at him then, eyes shimmering. "You could still go home, Captain. Your people would forgive you if you left me behind." He smiled faintly. "Then they never knew me." The words hung between them. Simple yet heavier than any oath, Leora turned away quickly, afraid he might see the tears gathering in her eyes. "How does a human bear so much loyalty?" she whispered, "and even titans do not hold such hearts." Arlen looked at the stars, his voice quiet. "Maybe that's why they call us dangerous. Because we don't know when to stop caring." Outside, the dying star erupted in waves of light washing over the ship. Its glow painted Leora's skin in shades of gold, and for a moment, she looked like a goddess born of fire and sorrow. Arlen watched her in silence, realizing he wasn't protecting a titan anymore. He was standing beside something far greater, someone who had redefined what strength meant. But peace never lasts long in the void. The communication console crackled to life, the Federation's emblem flashing red. "Attention, Elysium Voyager. This is Admiral Hayes of the Terran Federation. You are ordered to surrender immediately for violation of interspecies contact protocol." Arlen's heart sank. "So now my own people hunt us," he murmured. Leora turned sharply. "You should not suffer for me." He shook his head. "I'd rather be hunted with you than honored without you." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, torn between loyalty and fear. Arlen stood tall, his voice steady. "We make for the rift line." "It's uncharted, but it will get us out of both empires' reach," Leora frowned. "The rift line? That's suicide. It's pure chaos energy. Nothing survives passage," he smiled slightly. "Then it sounds perfect for us." As they prepared the jump, alarms began to wail. Federation cruisers had found them. Leora moved to the weapons deck, her massive hands gripping the cannons like extensions of her will. "I'll hold them off," she said, determination blazing in her voice. Arlen joined her side. "Not this time. You've done enough fighting for one life." She looked down at him, her expression softening. "You forget, Captain. I was born for war." Together they fought side by side. Every blast from her cannon struck with the precision of an artist painting with light. Every command from Arlen carried calm defiance. The Elysium Voyager weaved through the enemy fire, damaged but alive, until finally, the rift line loomed before them, a shimmering storm of colors twisting like a living wound in space. "Now," Arlen shouted, and the ship plunged into the chaos. Energy waves struck them from all sides. Systems failed, gravity distorted, voices screamed through static. Leora's body glowed as the rift's energy licked at her armor. "Captain!" she cried, holding the control column steady as it tore apart in her hands. "Keep it together," Arlen yelled back, sparks flying. "We're almost through." The ship trembled, its hull glowing red from the stress. And then silence, no alarms, no pursuit. Just the endless calm of a new region of space, filled with floating light and still air. They had made it through somehow. Leora fell to her knees, exhausted, her massive frame trembling. Arlen rushed to her, catching her arm. Though his own strength was nothing compared to hers, she looked down at him, breathing heavily. "You risked everything for me." He smiled faintly. "Not for you," he said softly. "For us." She closed her eyes, and for the first time in her life, tears fell freely. All her life she had been told she was too large to be loved, too strong to be gentle, too different to belong. And yet here, in exile among the stars, she had found someone who saw her heart before her sighs, someone who made her believe she was enough. Outside the ship, the rift shimmered quietly. Beyond it, two great empires would soon realize they had lost something they could never regain. A love born not of convenience or power, but of defiance and truth, and though they were fugitives now, Arlen and Leora had become something far greater. Legends whispered across galaxies. The human who loved the giantess, and the giantess who chose humanity. The return through fire for many weeks. The Elysium Voyager drifted through the quiet unknown. No signals, no borders, no wars. Only the soft hum of the engines and the beating of two hearts that refused to surrender. Leora had begun to smile more. her laughter echoing through the empty decks like sunlight in a forgotten world. And Arlen found himself watching her with quiet admiration, realizing he was no longer a captain saving someone. He was a man standing beside an equal. But peace, as always, was never meant to last in a galaxy built on pride and fear. One morning, the sensors flickered, a faint signal repeating through static. Arlen leaned forward. "It's Titanian frequency." Leora froze, her voice trembling. "It's my mother's code." He looked at her. "Cautious but calm. You want to answer it?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, Captain. It's time to stop running." The hologram flared to life, revealing Queen Seraphis not in her throne room this time, but aboard a warship surrounded by wreckage. Her voice, once thunderous, now sounded tired. "Leora, the Empire burns, the rebellion spreads, and I have seen what pride has cost us." Leora's heart pounded. "Mother!" The Queen lowered her gaze. "I thought strength meant perfection, but I was wrong. Your defiance showed me what real strength is, and compassion." The words struck deeper than any weapon. Leora had dreamed of hearing her mother's love since childhood, yet now that it came, she almost couldn't believe it. Arlen stayed silent, letting the moment belong to them, but the Queen's expression darkened. "However, our world is dying, and your help, my daughter, is all that can save it." Arlen stepped forward. "What do you need?" The Queen looked at him, and for the first time, the Titanian ruler bowed her head slightly to a human. "The core reactors beneath our cities are collapsing. You, Captain, and your ship's technology might stabilize them. If you choose to return." Leora's eyes flickered with doubt. "If we go back, they'll destroy you." Arlen smiled faintly. "They can try." Within hours, the Elysium Voyager turned toward Titania Prime, cutting through the rift line once more as they emerged. The sight before them stole every breath. The once golden world now burned red with storms. Cities crumbled, skyships fell like dying birds, and the ground split into rivers of molten fire. Arlen activated the shields. "Prepare for descent." Leora stood beside him, her armor gleaming. "We end this together." The landing shook the heavens. Arlen led his engineers to the reactor core, while Leora faced her people for the first time since exile. The Titans who once mocked her now fell silent as she passed. Her shadow stretched across the broken streets, not as a symbol of fear, but as a symbol of hope. At the heart of the planet, the reactor roared like an angry god. Arlen worked frantically, hands flying over control panels melting from heat. "Stabilizer core in 30 seconds, shouted one of the engineers. But then a power conduit exploded, throwing Arlen across the chamber. Leora rushed to him, her heart screaming. "Arlen!" He looked up weakly, blood streaking his forehead. "The core. If it goes, the planet dies." She turned toward the glowing column of energy, realizing what must be done. "No," Arlen whispered. "Don't you dare," but she smiled gently, tears glimmering like stars. "You once gave me your hand, Captain. Now let me return the gift." She stepped into the light, her titanian body absorbing the unstable energy. Her armor cracked, her voice calm even as pain tore through her veins. "Leora, stop!" Arlen shouted, struggling to stand. "You'll die." Her eyes met his, soft and full of peace. "No. I'll live in every life this world saves." The reactor dimmed. The tremors stopped, the skies cleared. Outside, the Titans watched as their world steadied once more. And from the heart of the storm rose a column of light, Leora's essence merging with the planet itself. The Queen fell to her knees, tears streaming down her golden face. "My daughter, my strength, my heart." Arlen stood in the silence that followed, his voice breaking. She wasn't too big to love. The galaxy was too small to deserve her. The Queen placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "You gave her peace." "Human Captain," he looked up, eyes wet. "No, she gave me meaning, years past." Titania Prime rebuilt, and among its twin suns, a statue stood tall, a Titanian woman and a human captain. Hand in hand facing the stars, children whispered her name as they passed. Leora Grey, the giantess who saved 2 worlds. And every time the wind howled through the crystal spires, it carried a soft voice. Love has no size, only courage, and far beyond the galaxies, where the rift line still shimmered with mystery, a faint glow flickered like a heartbeat, as if the universe itself remembered her. The outcast who became a legend, the soldier who reached out his hand, and the love that conquered the distance between worlds.